Huachuma this morning. I'm experiencing that right now. Kind of feels silly to be recording an episode in the middle of a journey, but it just felt so inspired, and I was like, okay, I want to come on here and share my heart with y'all real quick. So, if you don't know, let me turn myself up a bit. If you don't know, San Pedro, aka Huachuma, cactus that contains mescaline, and it's quite magical. The grandfather medicine, I love it. And so I woke up this morning super early, thinking I was gonna go shoot a music video with these Russian homies that are staying here, and for whatever reason, something just didn't feel right about it, even though it seemed like the perfect opportunity to go work with an amazing videographer and photographer on a really nice beach on a gorgeous day and get all this amazing content that can make me look super cool online and help me sell my records, and probably be really fun to just create it. And for whatever reason, it just didn't feel right, so I just last minute I was like, I'm staying. And I came up with some excuses or some reasons why my ego thought it wasn't right, like, I don't really have like the freshest outfits, or I haven't like shaved, or blah blah blah, but really there was something deeper that I was just like, I don't know why I'm not feeling it. And then it dawned on me that it was like my old scarcity mindset has just completely collapsed in all ways, whereas like I used to not only have a scarcity mindset when it came to money and stuff and material possessions, but also with experiences and relationships, to where like back in the day I would have been like, I gotta seize every opportunity that presents itself, or else I'm gonna miss out, and if I don't seize this opportunity, like I would have serious FOMO. And that's all gone now. I'm living in divine indifference, and it feels so beautiful because I'm just set either way. So I want to talk today a little bit about living, the art of living in divine indifference, and I want to talk about beauty, creativity, abundance, prosperity, and just like whatever else wants to come through right now. So I've never recorded an episode while I'm like this deep in the medicine before, and I didn't take like a super lot today. I took like a pretty mild dosage, enough to definitely feel it and appreciate it. And I've been having such a glorious morning here in Hawaii. So it's like 10 a.m. right now, and I feel like I've already gotten soaked up like 2 hours of sunshine. I took a nice soak in the hot springs, had a really nice meditation, and I came in here to the Bliss Bus thinking, okay, I'm gonna go work with some hape, sip my cacao, do my journaling, pretty much my normal routine, and then I'll probably meditate, and then I'm gonna record some music because I'm finishing up my animal medicine album right now. And for whatever reason, I just had so much that wanted to be shared, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just plug my mic in and talk for a minute and see what comes out on this episode. So it might be like a tad bit scattered, who knows. It's gonna flow how it's meant to flow. So I want to talk a little bit just about my story. How I went from broke and stressed to woke and blessed. Like seriously so blessed now. And really not that long ago, I was in constant fight or flight. I was $30,000 in debt. Owed like everybody money, it seemed like. Could barely feed my daughter. Could barely pay my rent. I was getting evicted from apartments. I got evicted from 2 different places because I kept being late on rent. I got my car repossessed because I tried to be a baller and buy this $15,000 car, and then I didn't subconsciously believe that I deserved it, so I sabotaged it and didn't make the payments. And when you don't pay people and they give you money for a car, then they just show up and take the car back, and then they're like, okay, you still owe us this money. So then I had to figure out, okay, how I gotta how can I pay off all this debt and I have no car, no legit place to live, and I still need, like, I need to find some food today. So that's first and foremost. I need to come up with $10 or $5 just so I could eat something. So that was where I was at, and I'm not mentioning any of that to like tell a sob story or even like put energy towards that. It's just it's a beautiful divine part of my path. I was like really struggling, especially financially, and I was down and out. And other things were going well in my life, like a lot of people enjoying my music, and things were things were going well. I just had such a scarcity paradigm where all I did was worry and stress and effort and struggle and try. And I was trying so fucking hard. Like, way harder than I try now. Like, I don't try now because that's the magic of it. But back in the day, I was literally like, I got an A+ for effort, and that effort's not the way. That's why you want to effort less, and your life will be effortless. I was trying so hard. I was really doing my best. I was literally, and I forgot to shout out the sponsors. Shout out Organifi. Shout out Moss Life. Shout out Water Fusion. Shout out Patreon supporters. You know what it is. Link in description. Support. Show some love. Treat yourself. That's all I need to say. You know what it is. Um, but yeah, I really was trying so hard to make my life good. I was like reading books. I was working out. I was doing everything that I possibly could to try and be a good person, and I just couldn't figure out why my life just wasn't working out. And my dad would tell me that I had my head up my ass with this whole music dream, and other people would kind of think the same thing. And if they didn't say it, I could feel it coming off of them, that they were kind of like, when are you gonna get a job and get your shit together and stop struggling, And I just like knew all I want to do is make music. All I want to do is do what I love. Like, I refuse to step into this Babylon Matrix paradigm of working your ass off for your whole life for someone else's dream just so you can have like you can drive a Lexus and go out to the movies on the weekends. Like, that just wasn't the vibe for me. Like, ugh. And no disrespect if that's your vibe, Certain I like Lexuses, I like movies. Don't get me wrong. I like white picket fences sometimes. I prefer no fences. But for the most part, I just like knew that wasn't my dream. That wasn't my life. So everyone else's programming was just like nonsensical to me. I was just like, nope, I don't care what everyone else is telling me to do. And everyone thinks that I'm just chasing this silly dream. Like, I believe in it and I'm going to make this work somehow. And that was kind of my problem. I was trying to make it work rather than allowing it to unfold. How I've grown. But anyway, so I think it's helpful to talk about my story and where I come from, because I come on here all the time, talk about how blessed I am and how blissed out everything is, and how, yeah, abundance is your birthright and life is good and I'm living in Hawaii and woohoo. And I want to remind you guys that, like, where I come from, and remind myself where I come from, which I could never forget because, man, you've heard some of my stories if you listen to the podcast. There's been some really difficult challenges that I've experienced, mostly none of which actually happened, but um, I can't remember who said that. There's a quote that says, like, my life was full of a great amount of suffering, most of which never actually happened, or something like that. I've totally butchered the quote, but you get the idea. It's like we just create these stories, and anyway, I I went through being $30,000 in the hole, trying really hard, struggling, crying myself to sleep some nights because I just couldn't seem to figure it out. People weren't believing in me, but I knew that this dream was. I saw other people living their dream, living successful, healthy, happy, fulfilled lives that weren't necessarily doctors or lawyers. Like, they found their own way to do it, And I just really started listening deeply to the inner guidance, and the inner voice became so much louder than all the critics. Everyone outside me just became this white noise. Yeah, 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 you guys all got your opinions, whatever. This is where I'm going. This is the dream that I'm building. Love you guys all so much. And, you'll see one day. So I just kept the faith in my vision. Knew that if it was possible for any other humans to do anything even remotely similar, then I could sure as hell do it too, because we're all working with the same infinite power, and no one is like better or worse than me, and I'm a fully capable being with magic and creativity and uniqueness and so much magic and gifts to share in the world. So I'm gonna make this work. I'm gonna live my life how I want to live it. And to be honest, some of the happiest, most amazing moments of my life were when I was 30K in the hole. I had no idea how I was gonna even eat that day. I was 2 weeks past due on rent, but I went and chilled by the stream and meditated and soaked up the sunshine. And in those moments, I was so happy. I could almost cry right now thinking about it, because treating myself to those moments in the midst of all this struggle when I think I should be applying for jobs or figuring my shit out. Instead, I'm laying here by a stream smiling with this big grin on my face because a bird flew by me. Sounds really silly and asinine to, onlookers that had been, deeply programmed in their own ways. And I knew from some of the spiritual work that I've been doing and Abraham and all this stuff, like, okay, this vibration is tuning me to the reality that I want to be on. The ideal version of myself would be, if I had billions of dollars, he would be out here in the mountains today, laying by the stream, soaking up the sunshine. And making music. And yeah, that's exactly what the billion-dollar version of me would do. So I'm gonna go do that right now. And I did it, and I embodied the vibration of what I desired, and then I became it, because that's just how the universe works. So fastest way to create the life that you want is to be the life that you want, is just become it. Joe Dispenza always says the best way to predict your future is to create it. I used to live in so much of a victim paradigm and a reactive paradigm, just like reacting to the world around me and telling all these stories about how the man and everything's holding me down in Babylon and blah blah blah. And like, it was my own self-created hell in a lot of ways. And I'm so happy and grateful that I jumped out of it. And now I had a vision the first time that I blasted off on DMT, where I was so blissed out, and then I asked, like, grandmother spirit, okay, I've seen the light. I'm not afraid to see the darkness. Show me the darkness. And then I instantly, because I was feeling so brave and just like, I'm ready to face whatever. Show me anything. I can handle it. And she's like, I could just cry and I get whole body tingles just thinking about this. She said, the only way you're going back is to help others. You've already been to rock bottom, and it's never getting worse than where it's been. Like, and I just started bawling, and then I saw this vision, like bawling tears of gratitude and relief. Like, I saw this vision of me in infinite black space, like pulling. There was like this, just in the infinite void in space, I guess. There was this fiery pit, which I assume is hell, or my own imagination of what hell would be. And then I saw a vision of myself flying down from another realm into that hell and pulling souls out. And I was one by one going into the fire and pulling out these like shadows that looked like silhouettes of people, pulling them out back into heaven. And she said, that's the only way that you're going back, is to help others now. So I started crying tears of relief and joy, knowing that my rock bottom was over, because I had been living in fight or flight, just like that's what happens when you're getting evicted from places and you have a little kid and can't pay your bills. Like, you're in a constant fight or flight. And it was such a relief that was over. I was like, it's never gonna get worse than it has been. Like, and I handled that like a boss. I handled the lowest moments of my life like such a boss. I I cried, I felt the emotions, and I picked myself up and I kept doing my absolute best in every moment. And from my current level of awareness, I did the best I could do to try and live a good life, in the midst of, I'm like laughing and almost crying. It's just emotional right now. My mom passing away and dealing with my own addictions and, I was smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol and eating fast food. And like I had all these, habits that weren't of the highest self, and I was still working through all those things and trying to be the best version of myself possible in the middle of getting evicted, in the middle of all these deep challenges happening. And I'm really proud of myself for that. I bossed up and I made it through it. And so it was such a relief when I had this vision, because I was like, okay, if my rock bottom has already happened and I handled that, and it actually made me so much stronger. Rock bottom is the springboard, it's the catapult that will launch you into your greatest success. Like, thank God for rock bottom. It's like the best place to build a foundation. You think you want to build a foundation on some nice sandy beach until that shit collapses and gets taken by a hurricane, and then you realize, no, I want to build my foundation from rock bottom so nothing can shake me. And no matter what happens, I'm set. Like, I could literally die and lose my physical body now, and I'm set either way. It doesn't matter. Like, I'm so grounded and connected now, which is, part of what I want to get into with divine indifference in just a sec. Bouncing around a lot, so I appreciate you keeping up with me. That's that might just be the nature of recording a podcast during the medicine. And I just want to say a deep thank you to the spirit of Huachuma, aka San Pedro. Take a moment of appreciation for my tribal brothers and sisters down in South America that were able to grow and prepare this for me. Thank you so much. So blessed. Anyway, I love life. I'm just being so raw, and it feels so good. Like today, I was walking around naked and I just didn't care who saw me. I was just like, this is a body. It's a beautiful body, a strong, healthy body, and has lots of room to improve. And there's been lots of judgments I've had about there's too much fat here, not enough muscle there, and blah, 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 blah here. And it's just so silly. Because I'm so much more than the body, and the body is just a beautiful tool that's at my command, and it's an instrument that I can tune to whatever vibration I want to tune it to. So I'm always investing in the best superfoods and health and nutrition habits and practices, because I love this body, and I'm also not attached to this body because I realize it's just this temporary vehicle for me to experience, or for source isness to experience Burnelling in the ego construct and the 3D plane and all this stuff. It's so cool. So I really appreciate this body, and it was just fun to be raw and free and walk around naked, and that's kind of how I feel right now recording this podcast. I feel raw and free like that. Usually when I record episodes, if I do like a like a breath that feels intense or something, I'm like, okay, I need to pause, chop that, start recording again, like make it like feel all like tight and seamless, and like I'm all like worried about, not worried, but like more caring about how close or far away I am from the mic and how my voice sounds, and if I get too hype or if I get like super intimate with it. And it's just so fun. If I bring fun and playfulness into all that I do, then I'll just always be so successful with it. So maybe this podcast will blow up and be like one of my biggest episodes ever. I don't know. And I don't really care either way, because I'm having fun doing it. So, anyway, I have bounced around a lot, and you are a G if you're keeping up with all of this. I'm struggling to even keep up with all of it, but I'm bringing it back. So this morning just didn't feel right, even though it seemed to have this amazing opportunity to go do something that I love and that could like, and I almost was feeling like a bit of FOMO, a little bit of jealousy of like, oh, because my best homie, he's out there with the Russians probably filming the dopest shots right now. You know what I'm saying? He's probably out on like the sickest beach that I've never been to, getting like the most next level photos and videos he's ever gotten. And I'm so stoked for him. I can't wait to see that shit. And I just remembered that there's no reason to have FOMO because I create abundance from an infinite source. I create my own reality. I can bring forth whatever experiences that I desire. And there's so much time and energy and money and everything that I could need, and so many amazing beaches and places and amazing videographers and time and songs to do videos for. Like, yeah, it's beautiful to seize amazing opportunities when they come. So I'm stoked that, Trevor's seizing this opportunity that just naturally unfolded for us, because we were just hanging out in the kitchen one day and this dude like took a photo of us and we're like, oh damn, you're dope with it. And then we started talking about how he could do videos, and then we kind of like, oh, maybe on Friday we'll go out and wake up super early and go hit the sunrise and film some dope shit. And it was kind of a loose plan. And then for whatever reason it just didn't feel like my highest joy, which like my ego struggled with that, because I was like, am I just being lazy, or am I not going because I'm insecure about my appearance, or is it really just not my highest joy? And then I tuned in. I was like, wait, it's really just not my highest joy. Like a lot of times, other times it would be, but for some reason I guess I was just meant to, and I also didn't know I was gonna drink Huachuma today. I was actually planning on microdosing psilocybin mushrooms today, and then out of nowhere, and the psilocybin just didn't feel right either. And I had like prepared them the night before, thinking I'm gonna do all this stuff. And when I woke up, I was like, I feel like instead of going eating mushrooms and filming a music video, I feel like drinking Huachuma and staying here to record music and meditate and just be in my own bliss. And that's exactly what I've been doing, and I'm loving it so far. And it just seems to keep getting better and better. And it's like, I'm finding so much ease in releasing any patterns and toxic habits, and even like substances that don't serve me at the highest. Like, I've been low key kind of addicted to cacao lately, which is an amazing. You know I love cacao. It's like my favorite medicine on the planet. So heart opening, and but it does it does have caffeine in it, and uh, it can become, for some people, for me, I guess, it can become habit forming, I guess you could say, to where like it got me off coffee. I didn't really feel like a desire to drink much coffee after I started working with cacao a lot. Like coffee every once in a while hits the spot, but it's not my everyday thing, and my nervous system and my adrenals especially are feeling a lot better without it. But then I kind of replaced that everyday coffee addiction with like, okay, now I'm having a ceremonial dose of cacao every single day. And it's like, I've known how silly that's been for like the last couple months that I've been doing it. And I love that side note, I love that I love myself so much that I can just be fully authentic and vulnerable and raw with you, not thinking that anyone's gonna judge me, and not even caring if they do. um, because it's all divinely perfect. So I can just be like, yeah, this is where I'm at right now. So anyway, I got this cacao relationship that can use a lot of shifting, and also my relationship with tobacco. I don't really smoke tobacco, hardly ever, like some apacho every now and then, but Hape medicine. It's a beautiful, powerful medicine, but I've kind of been working with that a little bit excessively. It went from like every once in a while when I was out in nature to like, okay, I'm doing it every day to like 3 times a day type thing. And, I know people in the jungle, it's safe to do it a lot more than that. Like, I know people that do it 12, 20 times a day, and they seem fine. I just don't want to have a relationship with any external substances that feels like it needs to be every day. So when something starts to feel like I need this every day, unless it's water, um, chances are that my relationship could use some harmonization. So today it feels really easy to just let go. I'm like, like I made this big dose of cacao because that's just what I do. It's part of my morning habits, I guess now. And I just like I took like one sip of it so far, and I'm just like, cool. This is the same thing that happened when I started releasing coffee. Like I would still wake up and make myself the coffee because my ego really thought that I need this coffee right now, like, or else my day's not gonna be as good. And if I didn't have it, I'd go out of my way to get coffee for sure. Even when I didn't have a car, like there literally times I Ubered to the Whole Foods to go buy a cold brew coffee first thing in the morning, and I did not want to be on my phone. I did not want to be taking an Uber somewhere. I didn't, that's how addicted I was. So thank God I got rid of that, but then I kind of just replaced it with cacao, which is like a lot healthier and more medicinal in a lot of ways. And don't get me wrong though, coffee has lots of health benefits. If you're drinking organic, fair trade, cold brew coffee in the right dosages at the right time, it's an amazing, amazing medicine and tool. It's just when, like I said, when something becomes every day, yeah, then it might be time to shift. So I noticed that same thing happened with coffee. I would start to make myself the coffee because I still thought I was addicted to it, but I would have like one sip and be like, and then I would end up just dumping the rest out. But I was still attached to like waking up and making it. Um, these geckos crack me up, dude. They're always like, every once in a while, they come into the bus. Usually they're just crawling on the outside of the bus. Every once in a while they get in, and I'm like, I don't even know how you got in, bro, but you're chilling. Just don't get into my cacao, and other than that, you're the homie. Yeah, so same thing happened with cacao. It's like I'm starting to make the cacao dose because it's like my routine, and then like not feel the need to even drink it. Like maybe have a couple sips and be like, eh. And so that feels really good to just be like harmonizing that because I've known that's needed to shift for a while. And what's worked for me with the same exact thing happened with cigarettes. So this is really helpful part of the episode to listen to if you're struggling with any kind of addiction, like I have in the past. And we all have our, you know, areas that can use some improvement. So I was addicted to cigarettes for a long time, like probably 10 years. I was smoking like half a pack, maybe more a day. And it never worked when I tried to go cold turkey when I was like, okay, I gotta throw away my cigarettes, break them all in half, throw them in the garbage, and I'm done. Or like, okay, after this last one, after I finish this pack, I'm done. I'm never buying any more. And I played those games for years, and all it did was make my addiction stronger and just I was just in the Newport grasp. And yeah, I was smoking Newports because I'm a G. And yeah, it's not something I'm proud of. It's a silly part of my path that I learned a lot from and really grateful for. So anyway, same thing happened with cigarettes. I still thought I was addicted, so I'd still buy the pack. But if I tried to get rid of the pack, I would just crave them even more. So I would buy the pack, and I would have plenty of cigarettes. Sometimes I'd buy 2 packs. Cool, I got plenty of them. If I ever want to smoke, they're right here. And for some reason, having a lot of them helped me not want them as much. So same thing kind of did with coffee. I would still buy the coffee and I'd pour myself a fat mug and then I'd be like, I don't want to. And then it felt like an empowered choice rather than a sacrifice. Like, really want this coffee, but I know it's not good for me, so I'm not going to have it. And I'm going to use some discipline and, do all that. And like the discipline is great, is a great tool. It just only works. It doesn't work when you need it the most sometimes. So, and yeah, that's a whole nother episode we could go into in deep rabbit holes about discipline. And I think discipline is an act of self-love in a way. It can also be toxic, so it's about the right harmonization of that. But anyway, it was like a lot easier for me to have the coffee and then make the empowered choice to be like, actually, I don't really want this because I'm in my higher self today, and my higher self just like I already feel energized and stoked, and yeah, I don't really need this. I'm cool on it. And then rather than like, I really want this, but I'm gonna force myself not to have it. That felt disempowering versus like, yeah, when I had plenty of cigarettes, yeah, I told myself, dude, you can smoke as much as you want, bro. And all of a sudden, as soon as I told myself that, I was like, I'm chill. Um, and it used to be when I was really trying to be hard on myself, like, and this just may work for my type of personality. It may work for you, it may not, but this is, this is what worked for me. And I'm free to say that I don't even know how long it's been since I smoked a cigarette, and I don't ever see myself going back. Like, so I overcame cigarettes, I overcame coffee, I overcame soda, I overcame sugar and candy, I overcame fast food, I overcame lots of addictions. And I'm still, we have so many addictions. We're addicted to the chemicals that we create in our own bodies from stress hormones. Like if you're used to producing a certain amount of cortisol and norepinephrine and all these different stress hormones at a certain time of day, like your ego will start making up reasons to get stressed even when everything's perfect just because you need your fix. So Joe Dispenza talks deeply and eloquently all about that, and we can go into that on some later episodes. I've just noticed what's really helped me, giving myself permission to be free. And then when I give myself that freedom, I actually make the higher choice. It's kind of like I've heard this with parenting, and I can't remember where I heard this or what exactly the whole notion is, but something to do with like if you give your kids the freedom to make their own choices, most of the time they'll make the right choice. If you give them no freedom, like you have to make the right choice or else you're disowned, then most of the time they rebel against that. They make the wrong choice, whatever, because they want to experience life for themselves. We're all sovereign beings and dancing in this illusionary matrix of physical reality and collective consciousness, and it's wild. I don't fully understand it. I think I have different notions of how things might or might not work at certain times, but really I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm just stoked to be here experiencing it. And I'm bouncing around so much because I can't just seem to like finish a thought without doing 13 different side tangents. So maybe it is better like to do some grounding and maybe record these episodes like at the end of a journey or the day after. Either way, it was meant to happen right now. So I think what I was saying, like one tangent or two tangents ago, if I remember correctly, was give your kids the freedom and they'll make the right choice. So I'm like reparenting my own inner child, and I'm giving him the freedom to make his own choices, and he makes me proud because he makes the right choices. Like he actually prefers not to have the coffee. He prefers not to have the cigarettes. When I was trying to be hard on him, like you can't ever have a cigarette again. Like all he could think about was cigarette, cigarette, cigarette. I told him, yeah, you can smoke if you want. It's just you know how that makes you feel, and you know how you'd love to feel. So yeah, totally do whatever you want, brother. Like all of a sudden, this inner child was like, oh well, I want to feel really good, so no, I'm chill on smoking. And yeah, I'm giving myself like that kind of love and compassionate freedom in like everything that I do. And so I want to wrap this episode up in just a minute and just talk a little bit more about divine indifference. And this is something I'll probably continue. It's a theme that we'll continue to talk about on this, as some of the themes of this podcast have been plant medicine, abundance, self love, health, and wellness. And, the themes kind of keep evolving and unfolding in cool ways. And so it's like a continued conversation. So definitely, if this is your first time tuning in, go back and listen to some of the other episodes. Like that, it'll make more sense as we tie different things together and the conversation unfolds. And if you've been riding with me since the beginning, then you know such a deep part of me like that. My deepest podcast listeners might know me better than a lot of my closest friends, even because I'm just so real on here. And that's why I recommend. I encourage everyone that feels the call to start their own podcast, because it's kind of like your own version of it's therapy in a way. It's self-expression, it's connection, it's expansion. There's so many beautiful aspects of it. And it's cool that I remember when my podcast first started like blowing up and getting some views, I was out at, it was like the first time I had played a show since I started a podcast. So I was out doing a rap show, performing my beats and my raps and shit. And I'm outside smoking a blunt or something with a crew, and the conversation, like 3 or 4 different strangers come up to me and they all start talking about how my podcast changed their life. And then we had the most real, raw, vulnerable, honest connection and conversation. Like this dude who was really shy at first walked over to us and he started crying and he told us like some deep stuff about his childhood wounds and stuff that he was going through. And like, it was so beautiful. And it was like, he said it was the first time he had shared it with anybody. He said the first time he's even spoken those words out loud, and he just did it in a group of strangers because we were holding space for that. We were holding space for such authentic, vulnerable, real connection, and it all started with a conversation that was sparked up because someone there had listened to my podcast, and then instead of like, oh, how's the weather, or did you see that blah 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 thing someone posted, and like it was just a higher vibration conversation because someone, hey, your podcast changed my life, blah, blah, blah. We start talking about this deep stuff. We hold space. Everyone gets vulnerable and raw and real with each other. And then we just had the biggest group hug, and we all left that night feeling so connected and loved and seen. So that's one of the magical aspects that something like a podcast or just putting yourself out there in general can usher into your experience. I just love putting myself out there because the more I just unabashedly, unapologetically, courageously share myself with you, the more free I am. Yes! I'm so free. Anyone can see me naked, like physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and it's okay. Because I know that I'm part of I'm one with the source of all isness, and it's so beautiful, and I love it all so much, so unconditionally, that from that space, I can radically love and accept every aspect of my whole entire being. Yes, there's so many parts that I want to improve. Infinite room for growth, always. And that's the beauty of it. I'm perfectly imperfect. And, I'm able to love myself more freely because I'm able to share myself more freely. And then when you have the courage to just share the rawest parts of yourself with people, and then instead of being attacked or criticized, you're actually embraced. Whew, that's when I just got the full body chills. That's when life gets real magical. When you can cultivate communities and that will embrace your you-ness, your humanness, Even within the spiritual communities, there's so much ego stuff that goes on. Almost especially in the spiritual community, because all of us, we develop these like spiritual egos, and many of us think we need to be on a certain vibration in order to be accepted by our tribe. Like, I need to have the right meditation posture and know the right mudras, or I need to never get pissed off in order for my spiritual community to love me and think that I'm like woke and enlightened or some shit like that. Like, I can never experience anything other than just like sheer nirvana. And if I experience anything lower than nirvana, then I'm in the lower self and my tribe's not gonna love me or want to be around me. Like, that's so silly. I'm a human being. I get fucking angry sometimes. Very rarely, but it happens, in brief little moments. And then I catch it with my awareness and rise above it. And it's okay. And that is such a beautiful part of essence. Embrace the humanness. Just because you have a enlightened perspective that supersedes all space, time, and dimensions, and you're just pure isness, consciousness, awareness, observing it all. That's amazing. That's such a beautiful way. Like, I'm on a mission to help everyone achieve that state. And I want to remind us that we incarnated in these physical bodies with this ego structure and these personalities for a reason. And it's beautiful and magical. Let's honor it. Let's not run from it or try to blame it or criticize it or make it wrong or make it bad. Like this is all toxic programming that's still in the lack matrix. The lack matrix thinks that there's either or. The abundance matrix is both and. Um, Hear a lot of wise masters talk about that. It's, when you catch yourself in scarcity, like I was mentioning earlier with this whole music video shoot, I had like my ego wanted to go into scarcity, like, well, I better seize this opportunity because who knows when it's going to present itself again, this da 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 da. And there's a time for that. There's a place for that. And I was able to just like honor that it's meant to happen the way it's meant to happen and trust my own inner alignment and know that I have an abundance mindset. Like, it's not, I film a music video now or else I don't get to film a dope music video. Like, that's so silly. Like, I get to experience the most blissed out day ever and go shoot. Who knows? They could come back later and be like, hey, we got the sickest shots with the sunrise. Now we want to get you on the sunset and we go to this other beach tonight and we film like the illest shit ever. Who knows? That could easily happen. Or they got there and they didn't have their SD card or something and they couldn't shoot it all, so we're rescheduling for next week. There's infinite possibilities. Or tomorrow I walk down to the beach and I meet some other videographer that's even doper, and, the abundance mindset sees infinite possibilities in everything, so it doesn't get attached to trying to control things. That's what divine indifference is all about. And I was teaching one of my coaching clients the other day. Shout out Tim, if you're listening. You're a G. You're killing it. We love working with you, bro. Super proud of you. And anyway, we were talking about divine indifference with Tim, and we were talking about like from a sales perspective, when you're selling and promoting products and services, the most effective way is to not need the sale. Not to be, if you're needy at all, desperate at all, people subconsciously smell that, feel that, and they will not do business with you. And I was wondering, I'm making the right offers. My graphic design's dope. Da 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 da. I thought I was doing all the things right. But I would put out my offer and I was subconsciously in a scarcity mindset, and I was like, I needed things to go a certain way. From my ego in the scarcity, in the lack matrix, I thought I needed to control everything. So I need to make this money, and I need to get this client, and I need to do this or else. I need to do this or else. Like, that was such a paradigm I was living. If I don't pay these bills, then I'm fucked. That's what I used to always say. If I don't figure out how to get the money for this, then I'm screwed. If I don't take this opportunity, then blah, 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 something bad's going to happen. And now it's just like, I'm so easygoing because I just trust in the divine flow. I know that everything is happening exactly the way it's meant to. Wherever I'm at is exactly where I'm meant to be in that moment. And there's just infinite amounts of money and energy and relationships and food and whatever I could ever possibly need to just thrive on all levels throughout the rest of my existence in the universe is always so abundantly provided for, overflowing by infinite source. Divine intelligence is literally animating every facet of isness. I don't need to control anything. It's already so perfect. I don't need to struggle. When Deepak Chopra says, when you struggle against this moment, you're struggling against the entire universe. When you're thinking this moment right here now should be any different than what it is, you're literally creating resistance and struggling against something that's already so divinely, magically, perfectly orchestrated for your highest good. And that's the only reason that it feels like a struggle to you, is because you're resisting what is. When you accept and embrace what is, all of a sudden it feels magical, even if you're in prison or in serious physical pain or whatever. I've found these moments in some of the hardest challenges of my life, and I've also been really upset and in a lousy vibration when I've been, quote unquote, in paradise. So I made a Facebook post about this the other day that says, like, we are paradise, where you bring yourself with you wherever you go. So, a matter of fact, let me bring up that post real quick, and I'm just gonna read it because. And again, thank you so much for bouncing around with these tangents. I know there's like so many points that I've just like started to make and then gone off on a side tangent, and that just seems to be how my brain is working right now, and I'm just letting it happen rather than judging it or trying to make it different. Again, divine indifference. I'm completely surrendering to the divine flow, knowing that all is always divinely perfect, and I'm just so set either way. So I was telling our coaching client Tim the other day, I was like, if you make a post and you subconsciously like need them to say yes to boost your ego or to pay your bills or to make you feel like you're on the path or anything like that, they're going to subconsciously feel that and they're going to back out because he was asking why a client said they were going to book a session and then last minute and all of a sudden they didn't have money or whatever like that. And I was like exploring that with him, and we ended up realizing that he had been somewhat desperate and needy, and though it was all subconsciously because like he wasn't putting off any like super needy desperate language necessarily, it just subconsciously he was feeling that he was really like, I need this person to say yes or I'm going to be discouraged, and then I'm not going to believe in myself enough. So we talked about divine indifference, like you're set either way, you got your bills paid either way. What does it matter if this person says yes or no? No doesn't mean never, it just means next, you know? It means next time, or it means another person, like, and like failure is not actually failing. Failing is winning. Because we're growing and we're learning, and it's all divinely perfect. So when you really just know how everything's divinely orchestrated, you can just relax and surrender and trust the flow and just know, hey, it's all working out how it's supposed to work out. I don't need to stress. I don't need to struggle against this moment, creating all this resistance and trying to force my will upon the universe of how my small little ego thinks everything should be. I can just trust. I can allow. I can unfold. I can bask in the magic of the beauty isness that already is all encompassing and surrounding at all times. I can just raise my awareness to see how divinely beautiful and magical everything already is. How many times have I told my heart to beat since I've recorded this episode? 0. How many times have my eyelids blinked? Who knows? I haven't thought about it because they're just doing it. My divine intelligence is orchestrated and animating every cell and every facet of my being. And I can get in the way. If I don't think about my breath at all, I naturally go to like a really beautiful breath pattern. And then as soon as I try to do breath work and start breathing deep, it takes me a minute. Like I have to use my will and my focus, and then I can get there. I love breath work. I'm actually calling it breath play now, or breath plurk, I don't know, something like that, because it's like the term work, no one wants to work, you know what I'm saying, most of the time. Like, you're like, you want to do some breath work? And they're like, but I'm like, you want to play? Yeah, what do you want to play? Oh, we're just going to play with our breath. Okay, that sounds fun. So, breath play. But anyway. So nice to just have the audible sigh and exhale of relief and just letting all the tension move out of your body. Breath is like so important, so valuable, and that's a whole nother episode. But yeah, if you don't like where you're at, if you don't like what you're feeling, just move your body, move your thoughts, move your mind, shift around, have a dance party, change the way you're breathing, change the nature that this gecko is still cracking me up over here. He's like walking upside down like Spider-Man right now. Like they must have like suction cups on their feet. Squirrel. Just kidding. There's no squirrels out here, but if you got that, you a G. Anywho, divine indifference. Just trust. Everything's how it's supposed to happen. So, I'm still trying to pull up that Facebook post from the other day. So it's like slightly distracting me because I'm seeing other shit on my laptop. And normally, I don't look at screens at all when I'm on psychedelics of any kind, because screens are just weird. And it's a little bit harder to operate technology like this. It's like easier to operate the natural technology, way easier. Like my physical body and just being on the earth feels so good. Like walking around naked, barefoot today, it felt so right. I was like, all of these trees and plants and flowers, they're my friends and they're all part of me and they're all sacred family and I love them all so much rather than like worrying about, oh, look, that bug just crawled on me. I'm like, hi, friend. What's up? You're part of me. So that feels great. Touching a laptop feels like a little bit like, whoa, what's this crazy device? It's pretty magical and awesome. Yet I somehow don't have the easiest time working it. Um, and even using physical words, like I could probably speak light language or just play my music way eloquently right now. And as I try to speak with physical human words, that doesn't seem to be the easiest thing either. And I think the medicine might be like kicking in a little bit stronger now. It's like probably 4 hours. Yeah, I guess we're about 4 hours in right now. And I didn't take like a super massive dose, but definitely enough. Um, so anyway, let me find this Facebook post real quick. Get back to my point. I should just call this like the bounce around magical Huachuma episode. Okay, I'm finding all my lyrics. I'm finding a letter that I wrote to my dad. Oh, and I can't wait to give it. I don't know if I'll give it to him, but I got so much healing just writing that. Who knows if he's ready to receive that, but it felt really good to let that out. Um, Maybe I don't have the Facebook post. Maybe I didn't type it up on here. I thought I did. I did find a really beautiful, profound quote by Chief Black Elk as I was scrolling through my notes here. So I'll read that while whatever else was meant to come through finds its way to us. So, the first piece, which is most important, is that which comes from the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize that at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that this center is really everywhere. It is within each of us. Chief Black Elk. Full body chills. So grateful for all of our ancestors, for all the sacred beings that have been living in harmony on these lands long before us and showing us the way. Thank you. Thank you. So blessed. Yes, he says, when they realize at the center of the universe dwells Great Spirit, and the Great Spirit is really everywhere. The center is within us. It's so when you realize that, life gets super magical and so beautiful. And how could you not just love everyone and every single thing? Because it's all you, and it's all divinely perfect, and you have eternity to keep improving upon, which is already great. Some people can hear, oh, how can you say world's divinely perfect when there's war and there's people that are hungry and there's people that are starving? Don't you have compassion for that? Damn right I have compassion for that. You know, you guys know how much money and time and energy I donate to things like clean water and stuff like that to try and help people because I really do care. I try to be a benevolent force in this world. And I know there's a lot of people struggling and suffering. I see that. I've experienced that. I experience it myself still sometimes. And I see the bigger picture. That's why it's divinely perfect. In the micro, it's still divinely perfect. In the macro, it's ultra divinely perfect. But people, when I talk about this kind of stuff, it can trigger some people that are really stuck in the scarcity lack matrix and the right versus wrong mentality and the good versus bad and the whole duality paradigm, which is a beautiful tool, although it be a mighty persistent illusion in some of us. We want to use those tools and not let these tools use us. So the Maya, the Matrix, these illusions, the ego, it's all tools that divine consciousness orchestrated to know itself more fully. And that's why I believe We have free will, because what would love be if, let's call it God, source, energy, whatever, forced every being in existence to just be completely enlightened and in this state of loving awareness all the time, and no one could ever hurt each other, and there would never be war, there would never be hunger, there would never be scarcity, there would never be any of that. Where would the magic be? If I think the reason that source, like, it needed to know itself. In order to know itself, it needed to create some illusion of contrast to even experience what it is. Oh, I could give myself an opportunity to block myself off from the love that I am. Okay, now I know what love feels like, because I know what it's like to block myself off from it. How could you know the difference and discern between anything unless you create these illusions? So these illusions are beautiful, magnificent tools here to help us know ourselves more deeply and experience the richness of life in a more profound way. And I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful that these illusions exist and that allowing me to experience the richness and the contrast. It's so magical. I love it. Thank you, Divine Intelligence, Great Spirit, for even figuring that out. Like, what? That's so cool. Um, yeah, if love wouldn't, you wouldn't appreciate love if every being was just always unconditionally loving. Like, the reason it feels good to be unconditionally loved and seen by someone is because there's other beings that maybe aren't doing that at certain moments, and pleasure feels good because you know what pain feels like, and sun. If it was nice and sunny and perfectly 70 degrees all the time, like you're living in San Diego. Shout out to the SD homies, the Southern Cali homies. Y'all don't really know about seasons, but y'all be getting cold when it goes down to 65 degrees. Y'all throw a parka on until it's the most you're freezing your ass off. That's so ridiculous. But anyway, Southern California, I love you. Um, you don't really know how good it feels to be warm until you know what it feels like to be cold. You don't really know, and so you get my point. Contrast is helpful, and it's really nice. So that's why things are divinely perfect, and that's why I'm able to have this bigger picture awareness in the midst of crazy things. It doesn't mean I turn a blind eye and say, "Oh, everything's divinely perfect, sunshine and rainbows. I'm gonna go take a bunch of drugs and just smile on the beach while the world suffers." Like, no, 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 no. That's like spiritual bypassing. Not about that. I'm about looking the suffering right in its eye and saying, "I love you. Come into my heart. I can hold space for this. Let's figure this out together. We got this. Let's remember who we are. Let's remember how powerful we are. Let's remember our infinite connection with this great spirit, divine intelligence that is animating all, that is always taking care of all, that we are eternally held by Source. Let's remember this and let's work through this." That's the medicine I'm bringing to the world right now, and it's just gonna keep getting more and more beautiful. So, hyper aware of things that can be improved. I just don't focus. It's, it's a beautiful habit I've developed. I don't focus on what's going wrong. I focus on what's thriving and where I want to go, and because that's what we create more of whatever we're focusing on. So you get a million people focusing on how shitty the world is, then it's just they're gonna keep telling those same stories, playing the blame game, creating more of the undesirable thoughts and emotions in an electromagnetic energy spectrum, and just bringing forth more of that energy. That's just how the universe works, and it doesn't care if you want to do it in a beautiful, fun, loving way or a disharmonious. It lets you create whatever stories you want to create, and you can bring energy to whatever you want to bring energy to. So let's tell the stories about things are getting so much better. I have a really abundant, like, I heard Charlie Rocket the other day calling himself a delusional optimist. And I like that. We're all delusional, might as well be optimists, right? So you could be a delusional pessimist or you could be a delusional optimist. Might as well choose the optimistic one, you know what I'm saying? The optimistic prime coming through the rhyme on the I don't know where that there was like a strange accent that was like starting to come through. But I love laughter. I love humor. I want to keep telling the story that the world is a beautiful place, and it's going to keep getting better and better and better. And by the time that I leave this physical body, there's going to be a significant amount of significantly less suffering. Oh my god, the most beautiful monarch butterfly I've ever seen is like swooping around this place. That's one thing about the Huachuma, is that you feel like pretty sober in a lot of ways, and like you can have like really deep visions if you take enough. um right now I didn't take enough to really see like visuals necessarily, but nature is just extra beautiful. I'm just like looking at flowers and trees and butterflies and things that I see every day, and I'm like, oh my god. I was like, what? And it's just when you heighten your awareness to see the magic and the beauty that's all around you, and then you can keep remembering that. ah it's such a beautiful way to live. So anyway, the medicine I'm bringing to the world is to just help wake us up and remind us how held we are, and then we get to make what is already right even more right. That's the true spirit of Ho'oponopono. People think it's I love you, thank you, please forgive me, and I'm sorry. But that's actually the mis-westernized version. Please forgive me and I'm sorry are not a part of the real Ho'oponopono. It's really just I love you and thank you. Here's an opportunity to make what is already right even more righteous. I wrote a lyric in my song the other day that's like, since it's already perfect, I just want to make it better. I guess that's the nature of an eternal creator. Um, and it's, yeah, nothing is wrong. I really believe that. Nothing is wrong. Everything is as it should be. Go read any of the wise books like the Tao Te Ching or the I Ching or any of the oldest spiritual texts, and they all say this. The wisdom I'm bringing here and the medicine I'm bringing here is not new. It's just um, displayed and coming through in a new, beautiful, fun, unique way. But people have been saying this. The wise masters, the ascended masters, they've been trying to get humanity on board with these ideas for a long time, and so we need a lot of us to be spreading this medicine. So anyway, I really believe that the world is going to have less suffering by the time I leave, because I'm actively being the change I wish to see. I'm seeing the divine perfection in all, and then I'm stepping up to do my part to show up. First, I got to grow up, and I can show up, and then together we can glow up. You know what it is. So once I grow up, that means I integrate my divine child with my divine parent, and together they are in a harmonious, beautiful, unconditionally loving relationship that is so juicy and magical. That's when I've grown up. I face my shadows. I'm healing my trauma. I'm doing the work. Grow up. And then show up is I'm going to show up and be real every day in whatever comes up. Hey, I told you not to get up in my cacao, homie. So I had my G. That's not the vibe. Um, I love these geckos. They just kind of like they get messy, and they're actually like an invasive species out here. Um, I'm working on an animal medicine album, so any animal is completely welcome in this space right now. Even if it's the less desirable ones, it's okay. Holding space for all of that because I love it. Anyway, the world's gonna be better because I'm showing up. Growing up and I'm showing up, and I'm not spiritual bypassing. I'm gonna look the darkness in the face and write it out together with everyone. I'm gonna look the harshest parts of reality and say, what can I do to help this situation? And I say, oh, everything's divinely perfect. Huh? You guys should just eat some mushrooms and go smile on the beach with me. No, there's some people that are starving. There's people that are getting raped. There's people that are being sex trafficked. There's crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's all divinely perfect too, especially because it's helping us grow and evolve so we can not choose those ways, because of how karma works. Like if you were to sex traffic someone in this lifetime, whew, that's some crazy karma and some crazy guilt and shame that you'll have to work through, that we'll collectively have to work through, because I'm no separate from anyone that's doing anything that like that. That's a part of myself that needs to be integrated, seen, and loved, and up leveled, and you know It's all part of this divine, way bigger picture, and it appears to be unfortunate if you look at the small picture. A little girl gets born into this life and immediately gets birthed into poverty, or her parents are killed in a war, or the unspeakable, unthinkable, crazy things happen to this beautiful little angel, and she just goes through a crazy life of suffering, and it's really hard. That's karma. That's dharma. I'm not saying, oh, she did bad shit in her last lifetime, so she deserves that. Maybe this is the universe's huge gift to her to like enlighten her or to enlighten someone else. Maybe it's now the person she has to work on forgiving, and she brings that medicine to this incarnation and is able to leave this incarnation in complete peace and love and forgiveness with all, and even including the people that did the craziest shit to her parents or whatever. And now the source has new codes which to work with to realize, okay, when I manifested myself as a human being in that reality and I did XYZ, that caused a lot of suffering and pain and it felt like shit. And then it caused me to incarnate in this other cycle of terrible karma, and it was really hard and challenging. And oh, I don't want to do that again. So, okay, let me update these codes. And the next time I incarnate, I'm going to be a really good person. And I'm never going to do anything like that again because I realize now that killing is wrong and stealing is wrong. And I don't even like to use the word wrong, but you get what I'm saying. Realize that there's a better way for us to thrive in harmony. Because even like, yeah, I remember like being a little kid. And it was before I had worked with any type of plant medicines, or was before I was even meditating or reading any spiritual texts. Like I remember just being a really little kid and I learned about Adolf Hitler, and I was like thinking about what would drive someone to like do unspeakable evil on that many people. That's so crazy. And then I realized that he was just a hurt, super scared little boy that hadn't been integrated and loved, and deeply just caught up in ego delusions. And I realized that I could unconditionally love him. I said, you know what? I love him so much. I love Hitler just as much as I love Jesus Christ. I never met either of them personally in the physical form, although I've talked to both of their spirits and, had different experiences with those archetypal energies. I just say that because those are two easy ones on the either side of the spectrum that most people can, relate to. They know that, oh, Hitler did a bunch of fucked up shit and then Christ did all this good shit. Um, when I was able to become like divinely indifferent and unconditionally loving to both, like I don't love Christ more than I love Hitler because that would be in this duality, scarcity, lack matrix. I love them both equally as me. I recognize and honor our oneness, and I recognize that the medicine that Hitler brought was maybe to teach us the way to be more righteous. And, they say like wise men learn more from fools than fools learn from wise men. So, are we the fools? Are we the wise men? A lot of times we're both. And if we can really come into a place of unconditional love and compassion for every being, then from that space we can honor the darkest parts of ourselves. If I do something that's out of alignment, I don't love myself less. Since I love myself unconditionally, I just choose not to do that thing that was out of alignment again because it didn't feel good. It didn't feel like I was honoring something that I love. It's like having a pretty flower and then you just go stomp on it for no reason. And like, that's what being out of alignment feels like to me. Maybe I'm a little kid and it's fun to go stomp on a flower, and but then I realize, oh, I just killed that flower and it's not alive anymore. And I go back the next day and it's all brown and doesn't look pretty anymore. I mean, everything's always pretty. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But you get my point. Yeah, so you realize, okay, stomping out this flower is not the vibe. It's not the way. Okay, actually, I would prefer to just put some water and some sunshine on those flowers so even more of them grow and I can just admire their beautifulness. That's kind of like the same thing Hitler did in like a bigger. We realize, oh, coming here and mass killing people. Okay, that's not the vibe. That's like stomping on the flower. Oh, whoops. Okay, let's not stop. Let's water them and Source just had to experience all these different crazy facets of a thing. So anyway, that's like a long explanation of why everything is divinely perfect and divinely orchestrated. And if you can have divine indifference, it's so magical. So I'm gonna do another episode all about divine indifference and selling when it comes to prosperity and abundance. Because originally I was gonna talk a lot more about that today, and then we kind of went on some deeper tangents. But yeah, like money's so easy to generate now. Like it's infinite amounts of whatever money I need could easily come. Just doing what I love all the time because I'm divinely indifferent. I don't need the money anymore. I used to think if I need all this money to be happy, I can't live the lifestyle that I want to live unless I have X amount of dollars in my account. So I need to control this situation and make it happen. And I gotta effort and impose my will and create this reality for myself. And I gotta manifest this money. And I gotta make this happen. And like that just kept me trapped in this vicious self-created hell, really. So now I'm like, dude, I'm set either way. Whether I have $1 billion or $0 doesn't even make a difference to me because Source is holding me eternally and I'm stoked either way. I'm always taken care of. I realize I've always had food to eat, and if I need to fast for a while, fine, I can fast for a while. If I need to go start rogue out into the middle of nature and harvest my own food somehow, I'll do that. And I'm fine either way, and that's what will be what's meant to happen. So I used to have this such a scarcity mind. If I lose my apartment, then my whole world's gonna crash, and no one's gonna respect me and love me, and my whole life is over. Basically, that's what I thought. I was like putting so much value on a freaking apartment or a car or silly things like that, which is kept me trapped in the lack matrix. And now I'm like, yeah, whatever happens, I'm set. Whether I get evicted from a place or whether I have $10 million and I buy a nice ass mansion, either way, I'm fucking stoked, like genuinely, because I see the bigger picture in all of it, and I trust the universe, and I know that I'm divinely held and everything's orchestrated in such a magical way, just like we are talking about with the heartbeat and the blood pumping through our veins. Like we don't have to think about that. We can just let it happen. And if we can trust it, like trillions of cells in our and just in my body alone, there's trillions of bodies, and just in my body alone, there's trillions of cells inside that, and they're all just like knowing what to do. Okay, something bigger's going on here. I don't need to stress or struggle or try so hard. I can just let it happen, and it's gonna be blessed, and I can just trust that it's gonna be blessed. And then when from that space you end up creating so much magic, and then it's really easy to make money or have things go your way. It's like the less you like try to force it to go your way, the easier it just will go your way. So you surrender to what is, and because like low key when your way is source's way, then you always get your way. If your way, I just made that up and that's gangster. If your way is source's way, you always get your way. That's what a sorcerer say. No, I'm starting to rap. No, I want to go make some music. And I think I'm gonna do that. So, I have like infinite amounts of things that I want to talk about, infinite rabbit holes and tangents. And I need to plug in my laptop too. So I'm just gonna wrap this up here, and like this will just be like a crazy all over the place. Burnell drank some cactus juice, and he sat in the jungle and spoke from his heart authentically. And I hope you enjoyed. I love you so much. I really, really do. I don't know exactly who's listening to these episodes all the time. I just love interacting with you guys. When you hit me up, you're like, I love that episode, or you like a certain thing that I said, or you post it on your story, or things like that. Like, it warms my heart. Sure, yeah, it helps get more views and stuff like that and bring this medicine and this message out to more people. But that's not even really what it's about. Like, I don't, I'm divinely indifferent whether I impact like a million people or just impact one person. Like either way, I'm stoked. And Source says the more the merrier. So that's Source's way. I'm gonna get my way because my way is Source's way, and Source just wants to benefit and bless as many beings as it possibly can at all times. So hey, anyway, thank you for connecting with me. I love it when you reach out, and I love just like I think about my podcast listeners. I'm like, oh, that homegirl down there, and like, oh, that homie in Germany that was like, I know he's be slapping this, and like, it's so cool to have like this worldwide soul tribe that's resonating on a similar frequency. So please reach out to me, especially if you listen to this one, because I feel like this is like one of the most honest, longest, genuine, heartfelt rants that I've like ever done on this podcast. Um, so if you fuck with it, especially this far into the episode, then we're on like some soul family shit for sure, and I would love to connect with you on a deeper level. So please reach out to me and just let me know you listen, and let's chat. Let's have a conversation. I don't need anything from you. I don't want anything from you except for just an opportunity to connect with you deeper. That's it. I don't need you to share this so I can get X amount of plays or go buy shit from my sponsors so I can make X amount of money. And like, yeah, treat yourself to some Organifi and some Moss Life and some Water Fuel. All these things, I share them because they're going to help you and they help the planet and they help these companies, which are good people. I'm set either way. I don't need you to buy anything from any of my sponsors. I don't need you to support me on Patreon. I'm like so taken care of either way. If you do, hey, that's more blessings to go around for everybody, and I'm super, super, super grateful, and I'm super grateful regardless. So, like, really, the only thing that I want, I guess I don't really want anything, but one thing that would be amazing, it's so silly to dance around with all the different words and humanness. I guess I do want something. I want to connect with you. Yeah, I'll just own that I want something in this moment, because I try to be like, oh, I'm not supposed to want anything, because that's like opposite of what I'm preaching. But my humanness just wants to connect with other humans that are on similar frequencies. So I really love you, and I would love if you reached out and we could chat. So thank you so much for listening. Sending you all the good vibes. Again, thank you to my Patreon supporters. Shout out to Organifi. Shout out to Moss Life. Iris C. Moss. I'm actually expecting a package from Moss Life in the mail today. The homie Charlie went to the P.O. box to swoop it. I'm gonna go check if it's here and like treat myself to some moss, because my body needs that right now. Some minerals. Anyway, love you so much. Let's keep waking the love up. Let's keep being the change we wish to see. Let's keep being divinely indifferent, knowing that we're good either way. And it's not a this or that. It's not a good or bad or right or wrong. It's a both and. We get to have it all, be it all, do it all. Let's go. I love life. I love you. Wake the love up, baby. It's your boy Burnell signing off. P.S. I've never said the word signing off before, so that just felt really weird. I was like, sometimes you hear people say different phrases and you try them on and then it just feels weird. It's like, okay, it's like that person, he rocks Nikes or he rocks suit jackets. I put them on. I'm like, oh, that's not really my style, but I put on some Vans and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's my vibe. So signing off. I tried it on, not my vibe. I'll just end the episode in the way that I normally do. Peace and blessings. Aloha. Sending you all the good vibes. Until next time, wake the love up.